Hello and welcome back to the channel, and in today's episode or in today's video I want to talk about real estate development. And I got up pretty early this morning and I drove in to see very beautiful start of the day, by the way, and drove in to see a very good friend of mine who is a very experienced and seasoned real estate developer. And we usually go and have breakfast on one of his hotels, which is a very nice experience for me, as I get to keep on questioning him and just learn more and more about the developments he's done and the strategies he's using and how he goes about doing his business. And I find him very inspiring, and I'm taking a lot of what he taught me in and I'm trying to apply it in my own business. Also lucky enough to do some business with him, and since he inspired me this morning, I wanted to take some time to share the very basics of successful property development, and I've thought about it for a while and broken it down to five different steps to evaluate if the development you found is potentially a profitable one or not. And I'll walk you through those 5 steps now. I would say it starts with you have to start by going out and look for buildable land. You can always find raw land, it's called, and then try to rezone it and go through a major process of developing. But to keep it simple, we're now going to go and look for buildable land, meaning lots and land where zoning is existing, where there's roads done, where you can just buy it and build something on it. So you go out and look for buildable land. You need to get your binoculars on or use your computer and phones and drive around and do whatever you can to get as many potential deals available to you as possible, which means go land hunting more or less. And once you find buildable land that seems good, you want to move ahead and figure out how many square meters or square feet, depending on if you're in Sweden or Europe or America, but how much you're allowed to build on that land. So almost all land in most of the civilized world is covered by different zonings, and the zoning is something that's usually done by the county or local agencies. So what we want to do is find the zoning for the land you've found and go through it to figure out exactly how much you're allowed to build on that land. So often it's like a percentage. You might say you're allowed to build 10% of the property is allowed to be covered by your house, and you're allowed to build 2 stories in this area, or it can be all kinds of regulations. It could be 5 stories or 1 story, or build the whole lot, or just allowed to build a very small percent of it if they want to keep it more rural, or in suburbs you might not build as big of a house as in downtown where you cover almost all the lots. So the zoning will tell you how many square feet you can build, and the reason we really want to find this out is because we want to know how many buildable square meters or buildable square feet we're buying. So you go to local county web pages most often, and they'll have zoning for all the different areas. You find the area your lot is in or your piece of land is in and see how much you can build on that land you want to buy. So you might find that, I'm allowed to build 500 square meters on this land, and then you're technically not buying the land, you're buying an option to build 500 square meters. The reason we want that is because then you can find out how much you're paying per buildable square meter, and that's an important number to remember, and I'll get to that in a little bit. Step 1, find land. Step 2, figure out how many square meters you can build, or square feet you can build on that land. And then we move on to step 3. Step 3 is to find out the approximate cost of building in that area you're looking at building in. You can do that by, there is quite clear averages in most places. I shouldn't guess because that's not fair to you, but either way, you find out the approximate cost of building per square meter or square feet. You can always call a local building company and ask for an estimate and say, I want a house this size, very standardized. What would be your cost per square meter? Or what would be the cost of building a house like this? Or go look at houses that was like very recently built in your area. Find the builder and ask them, if I want to build that house, how much would that cost me? And then you can calculate backwards to find the average price per square meter building. You can also always ask me if you're in Sweden, because we were running this company husideal.se, where we supply houses. So if you're in Sweden, I'll be happy to help you with numbers and also help you provide buildings if you need them, and actually do the projects for you. So what you want to do is find out a pretty good number for your area for what a completed square meter of house would cost you, right? Then to number 4, and this is where it starts getting really interesting. So now you have a price per buildable square meter or square foot from buying the land. So you take the price of the land and divide it on the amount of square meters or square feet you're allowed to build. And that way you get a price per buildable square meter or square foot. You want to take that number, combine it with the number for building, with the cost of building per square meter. So that's step 3 and step 2 combined. So the price per buildable square meter, meaning the total amount you paid for the land divided on the amount of square meters you're allowed to build, and then you add the number you got on step 3, meaning the cost of building per square meter or square foot, right? So you take the land cost per square meter plus the building cost per square meter and put those two together to get a complete cost per finished square meter of house. So that means the cost for you to buy the land and build the house, and you get it in per square meter. So you can then take that total price per finished square meter of house and compare that number to houses that are sold in that area. And with doing that, you get a direct comparison with your price or cost per finished square meter compared to what the houses around that property you want to buy or that land you want to buy are selling for per square meter. Right. So you have, take 10 houses nearby that were sold recently, take their size and divide that, see what they sold for, and then divide that number on their size. So you get, the average sales price per square meter in the area is, XYZ. So you have the cost of land per square meter plus the cost of building per square meter equals your cost of finished square meter of house that you can then sell. You want to compare that number to the existing houses surrounding. And then as a final step number 5 is to evaluate if this is worthwhile pursuing or not. And it's quite easy. You need some buffer because there's always going to be stuff going on when you develop a property, unforeseen stuff that costs a bit extra here, a bit extra there. So you need a little, buffer to just know that you're not going to lose money. That's a start. And then what you want to look for and the average going rate in the area for the people that do this successfully is a profit margin of, let's say, 20% or so. If it's around 20% or more, it's looking very promising. If it's below 10-15%, it might be a little risky. So at 20% or more in profit margin is probably what I would say and what I've been told is a good number to go and look for. And those steps are I mean, this is extremely simplified. You have to calculate realtor costs and some stuff like that. But in the most simplified way, this way of going about it is also so brilliant, and it's so fun to see these really seasoned and experienced investors and developers do just this. They just go check up the land and do this simple evaluation and comparison to see if it's worth pursuing the deal or not, and also to see what it might be worth, paying for the land they're looking at or so. And I think it's so brilliant because it's applicable on anything from a single house on a single empty lot in a suburb, as well as for acreage like right downtown, or huge developments where you're going to build 500 houses or 5,000 houses. It's still the same strategy, and that is the main reason why we want to keep breaking it down to square meter or square foot prices, because that gives us the best and most accurate way of calculating on it. So 5 steps. Let's do a quick recap. You start by going out to find land, potential buildable land, and then step 2 is to find out what you're actually paying per buildable square meter or square foot. Step 3 is figuring out approximately how much you'd have to pay to get a house built, key turn per square meter or square foot. Step 4, add those two numbers, the cost per square foot of buildable land with the cost of building per square foot or square meter, and compare that number to the properties that have been sold in the surrounding areas. And then number 5 is to evaluate if the deal is good enough, and you do that by looking for a profit margin of 20% or more. And that's as simple as they keep it. And trust me, it's been doing working very well for them. So it's definitely something I would recommend for others, and I see it working for myself. So with that, let's go out and develop some properties. Thank you for watching, and we'll talk soon again. Bye.